Right now, in this second lesson on Cycle Exam Revision Term 1, I'm looking at the second topic, algebraic expressions, but specifically at finding products. So after you've answered number systems, normally we'd have a question on can you find the products or simplify it with state, right? And let's look at the subtopics. So under finding products, we would test number 1, distributive law. Difference of two squares, or dots as you refer to it. Products by inspections, meaning trinomials, can you multiply out? Squaring a binomial. Product of binomial by trinomial. Difference in sum of cubes. Right, and everything above here we can test in the form of fractions as well. So I'll do a set of fractions. So this is just to refresh and get you used to what you need to know for a cycle exam, and what we would test and what order we would test them. Alright, so let's look at distributive law. So in the distributive law, in short, you should know if there's a value outside a bracket, that means this value must be multiplied with everything in the bracket. Take note there's no plus or minus sign between the 2 and the bracket. Same there with 5a, there's no plus or minus, so therefore it's 5a times everything in the bracket. There you see same thing, value in front of the bracket must be multiplied with values inside the bracket. Right, so there if we start distributive law, 2 times a squared give me 2a squared. 2 times negative 4 gives me negative 8, and we're done. 1 mark for each one correctly multiplied. Go to number 2, 5a times a would give me 5a squared. Remember, a times a becomes a squared. 5a times negative 3 give me negative 15a. 3b times a gives me 3ba or 3ab. 3 times negative 9 would give me negative 27, and b stays behind. Look at number 4. Negative times positive is negative. 5 times 6 would give me 30. X times x squared would give me x cubed, y squared. Negative times negative would become positive. 5 times 4 would give me 20. X times x would give me x squared, and y squared times y would become y cubed. Negative times positive becomes negative. 5 times 2, I assume you know, is 10. X, y squared. Negative times negative would become positive. 5 times 3 would give me 15. X times x squared would become x cubed, and y squared times y would give me y cubed. There, number 5 and 6, you can attempt to finish it, but here I'm just testing whether you can multiply the negative in there, so that would become negative times negative gives me positive 3x, and negative times positive 2x squared, which will give me negative 2x squared. So you technically would have minus 7x plus 3x, which gives me minus 4x plus 2x squared. Number 6, you can now also go attempt on your own. Alright, let's look at the next set. So difference of two squares or difference of squares, dots as you all call it. I must get used to your abbreviations. You have two brackets with two terms in them, and the terms in both brackets are the same, except the sign of one of them, then our final answer only has two terms. So you can see there are 4x squared and 4x squared. 5y and 5y, but this one is positive and that one negative. So difference, meaning positive times negative, would give me a negative of 2 squares. You see I'm going to have 2 perfect squares. There again you see p4x, the same, minus 7 plus 7. There 2a, minus 3b plus 3b. Alright, so if we get sums that look like that, where the terms in the bracket are the same, but one is positive and the other one negative, we just multiply first term with first term. So 4 times 4, x squared times x squared. 4 times 4 is 16. X squared times x squared becomes x4. 2 plus 2, which gives me 4. 5y times negative 5y, so positive times negative would give me negative. 5 times 5, y times y. 5 times 5 is 25. Y times y is y squared. You can see I only have 2 terms as a final answer. Look at number 2. I have p4x minus 7, p to the power 4x plus 7. So p to the power 4x times p to the power 4x become p 4x plus 4x. Remember, when I multiply and the bases are the same, we add the exponents. There, negative times positive would become negative. Then I'm left with 7 times 7. So 4x plus 4x gives me p8x. 7 times 7, 49. So negative 49. Right, so as you can see, p to the power 8x minus 49. Can also make it a little bit more complex for you in exams, where you give you difference of 2 squares and again difference of 2 squares. So there, 2a minus 3b, 2a plus 3b. We have the same terms, so if we multiply out, 2 times 2 gives me 4. a times a squared. Negative 3 times positive 3 gives me negative 9. b times b squared. 4a squared plus 9b squared, still left behind. You can see that and that is the same. I have 4a squared. Negative 9b squared plus 9b squared, so I have further difference of squares. So 4 times 4, which is 16. a squared times a squared, which gives me a4. Negative times positive, which is negative. 9 times 9, which gives me 81. b squared times b squared, which then gives me b4. Alright, so that is difference of squares. So generally test one of them in exam, and we're going to learn how to, under factorization, they have to be able to do this in the reverse order, going from here to the top. Let's look at the third slide. Alright, so now we're looking at products by inspections. So find the products of the following. So you see in this bracket, I have 2a plus 3b, 3a plus 6b. So we don't have a situation where they're the same. So when we multiply out these, we must have 3 terms. Now in grade 9, your teachers taught you the FOIL system, meaning first, outers, inners, last. So I must still do it the long process. Alright, so first term and first term. So 2a times 3a. For outers, the outer term here is 2a times 6b. Alright. Then inners, positive 3b times positive 3a. Then last, positive 3b times positive 6b. Alright, so 2 times 3 gives me 6. a times a squared. 2 times 6 there would give me 12. ab. 3b times 3a would give me 9. ab. And 3 times 6 would then give me 18. And b times b is b squared. Once we multiply it out there using first, outer, inners, last, you'll see we have 4 terms. But the 2 in the middle is generally like terms. Not always the case, but most of the times when we test it, it would be like terms. So outer plus inner, like terms. So 12 plus 9 gives me 21. So therefore my final answer, 6a squared plus 21ab plus 18b squared. So from there, we expect you to go straight here. We give you 1 mark for each one correctly multiplied out. Alright? So in short, I could have just gone 2a times 3a gives me 6a squared. Then I take my 2 furthest one, 2a times 6 gives me 12ab plus 9ab and go straight to 21ab. And then 3 times 6, which then gives me the 18b squared. Look at number 2, 4p plus 3q. 3p minus 6q. Alright, so again, first 4p times 3p. The first term and the first term in the bracket, right? So there 4p times 3p. Then the first and the last, those are called the outer terms in the bracket. So 4p times, so positive times negative gives me the negative. And then 4p times 6q. Then my inners, the 2 closest ones to each other. So positive times positive stay positive, 3p times, or 3q times 3p. Then last, last term and last term, positive times negative is negative 3p times 6q. Right, so 4 times 3 gives me 12, p times p, p squared. Negative 4 times 6 is 24, pq. 3 times 3 gives me 9pq, and then there 3 times 6 would then give me 18q squared. Again, I assume you can see I have like terms there, so minus 24 plus 9 for my like terms, which then would give me minus 15 pq plus 18q squared, right? So hope you follow, hope you understand, right? But this here we would test, and it becomes a very common problem in exam. Right, now squaring a binomial. Now if I work on your abbreviation, this would be SAB, ne? But that doesn't sound right, South African breweries. Right, so therefore I won't make it SAB. I don't want you to be thirsty while you are cooking. But very important, if you don't know how to square a binomial, in total or minimum you lose 12 marks in grade 12. The key here is, and I'm going to state it over and over, do not forget the middle term. Alright, so there, squaring a binomial, I have 5x minus 3 all squared. So first term times first term, 5x times 5x. For the n term, I say negative times negative, which is positive, and then 3 times 3. Right, however, you forget that there's a middle term. If we had to make two brackets and multiply out, they have a middle term. So for the middle term, I say 5x, or positive times negative gives me negative. 5x times 3, see there, times the 2, because we'd have two terms that have 5x times 3. Right, so therefore that becomes 25x squared. My middle term, minus 30x, 5 times 3, 15 times 2 gives me 30, and 3 times 3 is 9. So learners always forget this middle term when you give them squaring a binomial. They'll have 25x squared plus 9. Because you forget the middle term, you're going to end up getting the whole sum wrong. You'll see the other problems. I'm going to do another 2 slides with more complex exam questions. Hopefully I can get it into your head. But so far I hope we are cooking, you know? So 5x times negative 3 times 2 gives me minus 30x. So if we look at number 2, again I have 3x minus 4y. I have two terms in a bracket and they're all squared. So therefore there must be 3 terms as the answer, and I mustn't forget the middle term. Because if you forget the middle term, you're going to lose a lot of marks in exams. Do you follow what I am saying? Okay, let me stop playing around. So 3x times 3x for my first term. Minus 4y times minus 4y. For the middle term, I multiply the 2 in the bracket. 3x times negative 4y times 2. Right? So 3x times 3x gives me 9x squared. Positive times negative. 3x times 4y times 2. This gives me 12 times 2 gives me negative 24xy. And negative times negative become positive. 4 times 4 is 16. Y times y, y squared. And again, do not forget the middle term. Again, 2 terms squared. A 3x plus 3x, if we multiply it with itself. For the n term, 4 times 4. For the middle term, a to the power 3x times 4 times the 2. Right, so therefore 3x plus 3x, 6x. 2 times 4 is 8, so that becomes 8a3x. And then 4 times 4 is 16. So this is basic squaring a binomial, not SAB. Squaring a binomial. Right, let's look at some more complex problems. Right, so now squaring a binomial. Can give you there 2x minus 3, and you see now in bracket I gave 5x minus 3 all squared, which we've done in the previous problem. So first I'm going to leave that as 2x minus 3. There are 5x times 5x. For the middle term, positive times negative, which is negative. 5x times 3 times 2. Then negative times negative, which is positive, and then 3 times 3. So 5 times 5, 25x squared. 5 times 3, which is 15, times 2 gives me 30, so negative 30x. 3 times 3, which is 9. Now I multiply, so 2x must be multiplied with all three terms. Minus 3 must be multiplied by all three terms. So 2 times 25, 50, x times x squared, x cubed. Positive times negative stays negative. 2 times 30 gives me 60. X times x gives me x squared. Right? 2 times 9 gives me 18 x. Alright, negative times positive is negative. 25 times 3 gives me 75 x squared. Negative times negative would give me 90. Or 30 times 3 is 90 x. Then negative times positive, negative 9 times 3 is 27. There, as you can see, I have two sets of like terms. So minus 60 minus 75 gives me minus 135x squared. 18x plus 90x gives me 108x. So my final answer here, 50x squared minus 135x plus 108x minus 27. So if I mark this in exam, 1 mark for getting all three those terms correctly. Then 1 mark for each three that is correct there. And then another 2 marks for adding the like terms. So that would be 2, 4, 5 marks in exam. Look at the second one. Again, I have 2x plus 5, but then I have 3x minus 4y all squared. So therefore, there I'm squaring a binomial. What am I trying to catch you out? You're going to forget the middle term. And if you forget the middle term, you're going to get the sum wrong. Alright? So I hope you're getting it in your head. So I leave 2x plus 5 in the front. 3x times 3x. Then positive times negative, which gives me negative. 3x times 4y times 2. Negative times negative, which is technically positive. So minus 4y times minus 4y. So 3 times 3, which is 9. X times x, x squared. 3 times 4 is 12 times 2 gives me 24. So I have negative 24 xy. Negative times negative, which is positive. 4 times 4, which is 16. Y times y, which is y squared. Right, so 1 mark for that 3 terms being correctly. Now, 2x times 9 gives me 18. X times x squared, 18x cubed. Then the 2 times the negative 24 gives me negative 48. X times x, which gives me x squared, y. 2 times 16, which gives me 32, xy squared. There 5 times 9, which gives me 45, x squared. 5 times negative 24, which gives me negative 120, xy. And then 5 times 16, which gives me 80y squared. If you look there, there is no like terms. So 1 mark for the 3 being correct, another mark, so that one is 3 marks. Right, so hope you follow. The key is squaring a binomial. You forget the middle term, you lose the marks. The sum ends up being wrong. So look at a more complex version of this. Alright, so squaring binomial, more complex version. So now we've given 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3, all in closed brackets, squared. So again, the rule is first term times itself, last term times itself, and don't forget the middle term. So for the first term, 2x times 2x. For the last term, negative times negative, which gives me positive. 3 times 3. Then 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3 simply becomes 2x minus 3 squared. For the middle term, the first term times the second term, so 2x times negative 3 times 2 times the 2x minus 3. Right? So middle term 2x times minus 3 times 2 times the 2x minus 3 that's left in the bracket. So 2x times 2x, I assume you know, would give me 4x squared. Minus 2x times 3 gives me minus 6x times 2 gives me minus 12x times 2x minus 3. 3 times 3, I assume you know, is 9 times 2x minus 3 all squared. Right, so that becomes 4x squared Minus 12x times 2x would become minus 24x squared. Negative times negative would give me positive. 12 times 3 would become 36x. Right, plus 9. Now again, squaring a binomial. You forget how to square. You forget the middle term. The whole sum is wrong. So 2x times 2x gives me 4x squared. 2x times minus 3, which gives me minus 6, times 2, which then gives me minus 12x. Negative 3 times negative 3 would then give me positive 9. So from there, minus 24x squared plus 4x squared would give me minus 20x squared. 9 times 4x squared gives me 36x squared. Then I have 36x. 9 times negative 12x, which gives me negative 108x. And then 9 times 9, which is 81. 36 minus 20 gives me 16x squared. Negative 108 plus 36x would give me minus 72x. And that is 81. I assume you know those are called like terms. Color coded it so you can see x squared, and there x and x. Right? But let's do a second one just in case you didn't follow what I've done there. So again, in close brackets, I'm given 2x plus 5, 3x minus 4y, and everything in there is being squared. So again, we're first going to start off and test your squaring binomial. So first term times itself, so 2x times 2x. For the middle term, 2x times the value 5 times the value 2. So 2x times 5 times 2 times the 3x minus 4y. That's for the middle, and for the end, simply 5 times 5. And then 3x minus 4y times 3x minus 4y, so it becomes 3x minus 4y all squared. So 2 times 2 would give me 4. X times x, x squared. 2 times 5 is 10, times 2 would give me 20, x. 3x minus 4y. 5 times 5 is 25. And there again, can you square binomial for a second time? So 3 times 3 gives me 9x squared. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Negative 12 times 2 would give me negative 24 xy. Negative times negative is positive. 4 times 4 is 16, and y times y, y squared. Right, so there 4x squared. 20x times 3x would give me 60x squared. 20x times negative 40 would give me negative 80 xy. 25 times 9 gives me 225 x squared. 25 times negative 24 would give me negative 600 xy. 25 times 16y squared would give me 400 y squared. So 4 plus 60 is 64. 64 plus 225 would give me 289 x squared. Minus 600 minus 80. It's the same as saying 600 plus 80, so that gives me negative 680 xy, and then 400y squared stays 400y squared. So that's squaring a binomial. I've shown you 3 different slides. Please make sure you know this process, especially if you're planning to take maths till grade 12. As I said, all in all, if I just look at the questions where we test it under simultaneous equation, can test it under inequality, we can test it under analytical geometry, we even test it under trigonometry, where we square sine plus cos and you forget the middle term. So all in all, you're going to lose 12 marks. So practice this, pause the videos, go back, check the others, redo the sums, go look for similar sums. Practice makes perfect. If you're not prepared to put in the hard work, then maths is not for you. But I know you enjoy maths and you're going to put in the time and effort. Right? You're going to make us proud. Right? Next slide. Alright, so if you go to the next slide here, which somehow it doesn't want to go.